Hey Buick fans, let's see. Well, 99 Buick Lesabre here. I just did the limb gaskets, lower intake manifold gaskets, and you take a close peek there, you'll be able to see uh, all the areas that were actually blown out on the gaskets here. Like this water jacket here was blown out. Exhaust crossover one, that was blown out. This one was blown out also. This one was just obliterated here. Coolant flow. There's another one that was another coolant flow that was broke in several locations, and I had an exhaust port that was actually blown out. So obviously, the good old junky original uh, lower intake manifold. Got 99 Buick LeSabre Custom, a 2.3 fuel injected. I went with the Fel Pro, the metal gaskets. These are garbage, obviously. The deck's cool. I ran that for a couple years, not knowing there was an issue with it, and boy, is there! You'll see all the gasket areas all fractured. A lot of areas where it's just fractured and mutilated. Looks like the water jackets took the worst hit, if you will, and then they obviously exhaust. So uh, I did all this yesterday, not to go over it and spend a half hour or an hour while, if not longer, while it was being completed. I started about 10:30 in the morning and tore it all apart, took apart, removed the old one. Now I have the new Dorman upper intake upper intake manifold. I was getting over a little cold there. Just got to be careful of these right here, the fuel rail. Uh, that was a bear getting that out actually. It should have been pretty easy, but right down here, I don't know if you can see or not, but right there was an issue. Uh, the O-rings were just in there for 180,000 miles, so pulling those out. I used some WD-40. I sprayed some WD-40 in there, and then just kind of just wiggled them out. Obviously with the Schrader valve right here, get rid of all your fuel. So I did it first thing in the morning, so there's no fuel in there. Obviously make sure you unhook everything. A lot of things were in the way, actually. I did remove the alternator. A lot of people say you don't have to remove it. You can get back there. There's just two bolts in the way. I'm just sick and tired of having things in the way, so you'll see everything I replace, you've got to put dates on it when it was replaced. Everything, from the battery straight on down. I'm in the middle of actually flushing the radiator, so I just got to do that right now. I just bought some coolant flush, so I'm just running that through several times. About ready to drain it. Just did the serpentine belt a couple weeks ago. You probably see the last video there. This breaks quite often. You can get a new part pretty cheap, a couple dollars. There was some brackets back here. I actually had to take off these brackets. You'll see a bracket here, and then there's a bracket on the other side. You got to remove those, or you won't be able to take off your lower intake manifold. So very, very important there. And then you got to remove your EGR shroud. You can leave the EGR on, just unplug it. And your fuel injection rail, when you finally get it out, just use like a bungee cord, and you can carefully just hoist it up here, get it up and out of the way. You see, and you obviously, after that, I had to replace the oil. There wasn't any antifreeze in it, but it was just a safety feature, just in case. And then I had to remove all the spark plugs when I was done, turn over the engine a couple of times in case there was any antifreeze liquid in there, which there wasn't, because if there was, you could hydrolock your engine and bend your piston rods in a matter of seconds. So then that'll require an engine rebuild. And if you ever get antifreeze inside your oil, it'll destroy your bearings actually quite quick. It'll start from your crank and your cam bearings and destroy the whole thing. The mass airflow sensor that was replaced had a little bit of a issue with the throttle position sensor, so I replaced that. Just mark it before you replace it where it is, because it does have you can move it a little bit here and there, fall out of adjustment. You have to use an ohm meter with that. That can be a little tricky actually. And the idle control unit, I replaced that too as well. I just got new transmission lines because I got a couple training lines down there. Kind of hard to see. Yeah, it's actually that one right there. Actually, just starting to get a little wet right there, so that worries me. So I just received a couple. today. They just came in, one UPS, one FedEx, so that should be really, really good. The engine sounds and feels so much stronger. I can't wait, probably about maybe today or tomorrow or sometime soon. I bought some AC Delco Iridium spark plugs. They're real good ones. Those are the best ones. They're good for 100,000 miles. So I got the Bosch Super ones in there right now. So, everything's running good. So when you go to take your alternator apart, obviously you got this bracket right here. You got a 15 millimeter. You got 15 millimeter. I'm sorry. My apologies. I think it's a 13 millimeter, and then down there's a 13 millimeter, and then that comes right out. And then you got 13 there, and then one underneath actually, and then obviously you got this, which is power. To be careful of that. And then you got a bracket right there. I just took the bracket just right out. Oh, quick tip, real easy one. You see when you go to take your fuel injectors out. All right. You see that little metal? There's a metal thing right there, little metal clip. You have to push that all the way in towards the injector, if you will, and then wiggle the unit out. I had to refer to my manual in order to get those out, but they do come right out. So just remember, push that metal in and then pop them right out, and you'll be okay. This unit, I think this is a fuel injection pulse modulator. I had to remove that too. That was kind of in the way. The bracket for it was in the way. I couldn't get the lower intake manifold out until I did that. I went to buy a new coolant temp sensor, but ended up being the wrong one, so I had to put the original one back in. Everything seems fine anyway. So other than that, everything it was a pain in the butt, to be honest with you. And then I got this new one right here. It has all the gaskets, the Dorman gasket. You have to be very careful. Obviously, the intake manifold is in foot-pounds. This Buick here was 11 foot-pounds torque, so I had to snug them all first in the torque pattern, and then torque them down to 8 foot-pounds, all right, and then go again to 11 foot-pounds, and then just check it one more time just to be sure, and it was perfect. But with the upper intake manifold, you gotta be very, very careful with it, because obviously it's just stinking plastic, but it's thicker than the original for sure. But you had your first pass, you snug them up. Your first pass is 22 inch-pounds, and then your next pass will be 44 inch-pounds, and then your third pass will be 89 inch-pounds, and then I just check them again, just one more afterwards, because a couple actually needed one more little click. Very, very important. It's a lower intake manifold. It's foot-pounds. The upper is inch-pounds. That's vital. If you mix it up, or if you goof it up, or if you don't know how to run a torque meter, your torque wrench. I bought a 1/4 inch one from Amazon for like 35 bucks. It worked perfect, So it's really, really nice there. Everything comes off, just put things back on in reverse order. Real easy. So if I can do it, anybody can, pretty much, It did take all day. I started at 10:30. I finished up, started it up. Everything ran beautiful at 7 o'clock. So it was a perfect day. Not as good as today. Unfortunately, it was kind of cloudy, and it looked like it was going to rain, but it didn't. But other than that, it went well, man. I changed my valve cover gasket too. I did this one. I got to do the other one, but I was just too much involved with this other stuff to get bothered to do that. But I'll do it again sometime. It's not leaking, so I'll do it in the future. But other than that, replace the wires. I'm going to replace my plugs soon. Serpentine belt, if you ever had to do that, you'll see my last video. There's a 2-inch spacer down there you actually got to remove. Watch my other video and you'll be able to show you how to do that real easy. So that's about it, guys. It's pretty simple. Make sure to use all the materials that they give you. They're going to give you a PVC hose valve with an O-ring, which I used some black sealer to make sure that didn't move, and then a PVC valve and a spring and 2 O-rings. And this I got from from a different thing, 'cause they didn't give me that. So I ordered it special, I think. So it's all set. Everything's beautiful. I got all the power back. So hope this helps you guys.